Hello. Welcome into Fantasy Life on this Friday. Hopefully you're having a great start to your Friday, but you've made it to the end of the week, and we are so excited to be here with you today. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam, Ronis with you for the next couple of hours. Adam, it's a great day. Again, the weekend is almost here. We've got a lot of drafts this weekend. I did one yesterday, doing one right after the show. Saw a movie last night. Look at us. We're just living life. How you doing?
Yeah, doing well. I don't know how you have time to watch a movie when you have all these drafts. I mean, come on. You just need to sneak in there.
Went right after the flex draft. Went right after. It was fun. Weapons. Scary.
Is it?
I'm not going to spoil anything, but if people think to go see it, just a little bit scary. I closed my eyes half the time, but I loved it.
That sounds like me watching the Mets on a nightly basis.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you need to go see a
this
movie.
weekend.
You need a
Yeah, I do. I need to see something.
Yeah, don't watch this weekend because the Mariners coming to town won't do it.
Probably, yeah. It's gonna be bad.
It's tough, but it was a good movie. Stayed up till 10 p.m. Adam.
Oh my
goodness,
it
was crazy. I was so
10
tired when I woke up this morning. I was like, oh, don't know how Adam does this. Sleeping from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. That's how I felt this morning.
It's not good, right? You don't feel energized. You feel like, I need to go back to sleep.
Yeah, but you feel like this every day.
Yeah, for the most part.
That's awful. It really is awful.
No, but once you get started, you get into the rhythm and the show begins and you're talking football, you're good to go. So
exactly.
Just give it a few minutes, you'll be fine.
I'm good. I've got my Folgers here. I'm amped up. It's
helps.
A Friday. That totally helps. It's a Friday. Vibes are immaculate already, and we're getting ready for draft season. So I had my flex draft last night. You want to talk about it? They covered it here on Sirius XM. I sent you in one of the rundowns. There's a link to the sleeper app where we drafted. I actually was pleasantly surprised and happy with how it turned out. I like my draft, which is at the end of the day what you want. But picking from spot 14 out of 14, you're faced with some tough times to start off. But ended up and by the way, so in this draft, it's one quarterback, 2 running back, 3 receiver, 2 flex. The flex can be wide receiver, tight end for one, wide receiver, running back, tight end for the other, and then 6 bench spots. So it ended up, I on the turn, the 1-2 turn took Brian Thomas Jr. and then Achane, which we kind of knew that was probably how it was going to fall. And then brought back Mike Evans, DJ Moore, got Isaiah Pacheco as my second running back, and then went down Chris Olave, Baker Mayfield, Jaden Higgins, and made sure to round out some of my running back room. So I liked it. I think the one thing, Adam, is that I don't usually draft Baker Mayfield, and you texted me about it because I sent you a screenshot. I said I took Baker because I was trying to read the room, and I expected Caleb Williams to not come back to me in this situation because I thought I knew the people that I was drafting with, and I could have waited and gotten the Caleb Williams DJ Moore stack, but I didn't, and I got Baker Mayfield's Mike Evans instead.
Yeah, Caleb Williams went in round 11-7, and you took Baker at 7-14. But I think that's a good example for people of what it's like picking on the end, whether it's the top 2, 3, or the back 3, and especially in a 14-team league, where you did see some quarterbacks go earlier than usual. You saw Josh Allen go 2-13, Lamar Jackson 3-4, Jaden Daniels 3-10, Jalen Hurts 3-11, Mahomes 4-6, Burrow 4-3. So you did see quarterbacks go a little bit earlier than usual in a industry league. But yeah, you probably, I mean, again, it's hindsight. You could have waited another round or two, but there was probably no one you saw that you really wanted to jump on, although you did pass on Cam Scatterboo.
I did. It was such a tough call there. And don't worry, I was roasted for it in the chat. It
looks like you lost faith.
Okay, whoa. First of all, I did not lose faith. It was one of those situations though where I was looking, I was like, this is the time I have to do it. And after drafting Chris Olave, I wanted to make sure I had a better insurance policy at wide receiver just in case. And so that's why I went Jaden Higgins. And I stand by that pick. I would probably do that pick 10 out of 10 times.
Nah, you lost faith in
Stop. Don't
Scatterbull.
do
It's
this to
clear.
me.
It's
I
clear.
didn't take a tight end because you didn't have to. There was a time though coming into, I can't remember what round it was, but Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland were falling way further than I expected. It was the 11th round. And I was thinking to myself, if either more specifically Tyler Warren came back to me instead, because I already had DJ Moore, so I didn't want to totally load up on DJ Moore, Colston Loveland shares on the same team. But if either of them were able to come back to me, more specifically Tyler Warren, I was going to take him, but he went just a couple picks before me. So that was the only time I was looking at tight end, because missed out on the elite guys. And I said, if I don't have to take one, I'm not going to.
Yeah, I guess Ian Hartitz knew you were going to do that because he took Warren there.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing too. I don't know if you looked at this, but when you were picking on that 7-8 turn and you took Mayfield, did you look at the other teams and what they had? Because there were 8 quarterbacks off the board. So
yeah, I knew that there was 4.
Yeah, you could have said, okay, are there 6 guys that I really like that I'm willing to take maybe in the next round? That's probably what I would have done. But again,
definitely.
Well, there was a team that took 2 quarterbacks in back-to-back rounds.
Yes.
So
that's what I started to get worried, because the thing is that I was good taking Baker. I would have wanted Caleb Williams, and I would have been fine walking away with Brock Purdy, but I'm not as high as on Dak Prescott as you. I'm not as high on Justin Fields in a format like this. So there were situations, but again, I was thinking that with 4 teams that didn't have their quarterbacks and then the other teams that did have their quarterbacks, that eventually, and it always happens, Adam, I texted you, it happens even in these leagues where I was like, what if someone comes back and wants to get their second quarterback during this turn? So I didn't feel good about it. I just didn't want to risk, not getting the quarterback that I wanted. So I just stuck with Baker Mayfield, even though, yes, there were only 4 teams that didn't have their quarterback yet.
Yeah, I think it was 6. So
6, even better.
Yeah. So then that's the part about drafting at the end where you just don't know. And see, in this league, I would think fewer people at that point of the draft would take a second quarterback. In a home league, you do have to worry about it a little bit more because some people do take that second quarterback a little too early. So
yeah, we had them getting taken starting in the 10th round. So like Dak Prescott was taken as a second quarterback.
I think that was the only one in the first 10 rounds that took a second quarterback.
Yeah, because then it went to 11. Then it was Caleb Williams, Justin Herbert, Drake May, Jordan Love, that range.
Yeah. So no, I'm not crushing you for it. I was just trying to.
Well, you shouldn't. It's a good draft, but it is the quarterback one was the only one where I was sitting there and I was like, do I want to gamble with this? Do I want to see who could come back to me? And that night, Adam, I didn't. I was already going to see a scary movie. I knew that maybe the cards weren't in my favor, but I could have waited, taken maybe, like you said, like I could have stacked up Cam Scatterbull, Jaden Higgins, Keon Coleman would have still been on the board as well, and then came back with Caleb Williams, but we prevail. We got Baker.
Yeah, and you got the Baker Mike Evans combo too. So
I'm excited about it. It'll be good. So
it wasn't as bad as you thought picking from 14.
No, I love it. I'm gonna win it all. I don't know what you're talking about. I was never in doubt. Never, just kidding. There was a ton of doubt going into it, but it was so fun. So I'll tweet it out. I retweeted it again this morning from Sirius XM, but you can go follow them on social, and they tweeted out a whole picture of the draft board. There were a couple times where I was just sitting there like, whoa, I didn't expect this to happen. And I'll say Jalen Waddle at the 2-3 turn was something I did not expect to happen. I have not seen that yet, and that was that was one that I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either. That's the earliest I've ever seen him go. I do think he could have a good season, especially if Tyreek Hill is a little banged up. Jonnu Smith is gone. He had a 20% target share. So that opens up things for Waddle. But 214 is absolutely the earliest I've seen him go.
And then the other one, which we can get into here in a second, but Quinshon Judkins went in the 6th. So I thought, again, we're going to be talking with Zac Jackson today, who we have talked with before. He is absolutely amazing, covers the Browns for The Athletic, because honestly, Adam, we need someone in here to tell us what the heck's going on with the Quinshon Judkins news. So if you missed it yesterday, and we can get into it, Quinshon Judkins won't face a formal misdemeanor battery charge. And this was over the domestic incident in South Florida that happened last month. Even yesterday, Adam, I think we were sitting here saying there's no way we're going to risk a draft pick on Quinchon Judkins. We'd rather take Dylan Sampson. Jerome Ford is there. And look at how quickly things can change. And this is a perfect example of what we said yesterday probably isn't going to apply to what we're telling you today, because Quinshon Judkins, we get that news. Dwayne McFarland, again, in this flex league draft, took him 6-13, took him in the 6th round. And so I'm curious what Zac Jackson is going to say, because my questions, Adam, that I just cannot answer because I am, not in the legal situation. I don't want to tell anyone over the radio bad information. But my first question for him is going to be, does this mean Quinshon Judkins not only can come back, whenever they decide to sign him, but does that mean he won't actually face any kind of miss any games, face any suspension with the Browns in the NFL this season? I think that's a big question that I have.
Again, I'm not 100% sure, but I think he can still be suspended. This happened with Ezekiel Elliott, where he wasn't charged with anything and the league suspended him. So the NFL will still conduct an investigation. So that's still, I think, on the table, but we can talk about that.
Would it be a suspension this year, though, or could it be pushed to next year?
I would think it would be this year. I mean, he still hasn't signed a contract either. That could happen really quickly. I mean, we could see that today, tomorrow, and then he's back at camp practicing. So, he's been out of training camp too. So even if he does come back quickly and is back on the practice field, it could take some time for him to be the starter. But we can talk to Zach about that and break it down.
He'll break it down for, just the Cleveland Browns and our fantasy teams, because it will change how we draft, to be totally honest. Yeah. I mean, it's going to, what
no,
happened?
I'm saying, the people who were taking Dylan Sampson, around 9, 10, thinking like, oh, here we go. I mean, I still feel Sampson can contribute, but this is not what you wanted to see if you were invested there.
No, it's not. And again, I do think that he'll still play a role, but it's obviously not going to be as big as what we expected when we were just assuming that it was going to be Dylan Sampson, Jerome Ford. And again, I mean, I'm going to message Dwayne and just say, was that the plan all along to get Quinchon Judkins in the 6th round? Because I thought that was early. Like, if you're drafting this weekend, and again, we're talking with Zac Jackson here in just about 15 minutes. So we'll see what he says about it. But I was surprised that he took him there. Again, he made sure to come back with a lot of other running backs, probably a just in case situation. He drafted J.K. Dobbins, Jaden Blue, Jalen Wright, Kyle Monungai, Will Shipley. So a little late round dart throws on some guys that could maybe climb depth charts. But if you've been, and I've been drafting Dylan Sampson, it's been more so on underdog, but it's the situation where you thought you were getting some value, and he's really risen up draft boards because of this whole situation with Quinshon Judkins, and now it's kind of putting it on pause. And we'll see, like I said, we'll see what Zach says. But if you're drafting over the weekend, it'll be interesting to see where he starts to go in some other drafts.
Yeah, in this flex draft, Sampson went 11-10. So he almost made it back to you. Would you have taken him if you made it?
Yeah. Just because, again, we don't know, and we're probably going to get answers hopefully before the season starts. But I don't think he would now look. I look at him still as a good potential handcuff with standalone value.
Yeah, again, at the beginning of the year, he could be heavily involved depending on the status of Judkins and what kind of shape he's in, and depending on if there is a potential suspension. So, I still think you can draft him. It's just you don't feel as good about him. You were thinking, because, again, he was really falling in some of these drafts. I'm in a DraftKings best ball. I believe the other day I got him at around 13 or 14. The other thing, though, this happened. And if you're in a slow draft right now and you're like around 13, 14 and Judkins did not go, you were able to get him last night or yesterday.
I did that.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's happened to all of us. We've been on both sides. We've been on the clock when some news breaks and it's like, oh, this guy's moving up the draft boards and people were staying away from him. And now you click on him and you got him. And then other times this has happened to me where I made my pick because I don't take a lot of the clock. I do think there are times, especially during preseason games, where people will milk the clock because they're like, all right, let me wait, see if there's an injury. I don't do that. I like to keep it moving. Which I don't think,
though, is a bad idea.
It's not. Like, you can't really complain about it, but I don't like to hold up a draft when I see I'm on the clock. I like to make my pick pretty quickly. But it could burn you because you make that pick quickly, and then 5 minutes later, news breaks, and you're like, oh, I could have had Judkins in round 14, and now somebody picking after me now gets him. So there are still slow drafts going on, and you can benefit. I remember one year, it was a Sunday, and I was playing softball, and I came back, and I was like, I just got back. I need to shower, and I need to catch up on all the picks because I was picking like at the end. So my friend was picking next to me, and he's like, hey, man, are you going to make your pick? I was like, yeah, I just got back. I'm going to take a shower, catch up on the board, and then I'll let you know. And I think it was Jordy Nelson got hurt, and I was just waiting a little bit longer to see if they would give us any news. And I can't remember who was the other Packer receiver at the time, but I wound up taking that guy. And he got all mad at me because he had Jordy Nelson, and then he took the entire clock.
Oh no, that's what happens sometimes. That's why I think it's okay sometimes to take the clock. That's what happened to me. So yesterday we do the show. I'm in the stacked league, and it's a 4-hour clock, but it starts a little bit early, right? I think it starts at 6 a.m. my time. So okay. I always wait till after I just tell them, I'm like, I'm just going to wait till after the show just because I want to make sure that I like where I'm picking. It's a stacked league for a reason. There's a lot of great people in this league. And so there was 32 minutes left on the clock. And I got the message saying, like, you gonna make your pick? And I saw that Quinshon Judkins was there. And I said, yep, sure am. 14th round, Quinshon Judkins.
Yeah, I think that happened a lot yesterday.
Yeah, I don't usually get, in situations like that. So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to do this because it just, felt right. And by the way, and not to just stir the pot here with Chiefs fans, but I did look into more of the Rashee Rice suspension, because someone had asked me, they had sent a message on X, on Twitter, at Valenzuela 17, at Adam Ronis, if you guys have questions or you want to send us your drafts. And they were asking if we had seen similar situations to the Rashee Rice incident where, he is supposed to be getting disciplinary action. They move it until September 30th. It's a Tuesday. It looks like he's going to be able to play 4 or 5 weeks, but did you notice the games that the Chiefs are playing through the first 4 or 5 weeks? They're like all primetime games. Not to put my tinfoil hat conspiracy.
I don't. From what I saw, it was basically the availability of the woman doing the hearing. I think Dan Graziano tweeted it out, and I had retweeted it, that Sue L. Robinson, who oversaw the Deshaun Watson disciplinary hearing in 2022, that the date is September 30th because that's when it fit into her schedule. That's what
wouldn't it be more fun to think it's because they have 4 primetime games? Come on. You don't want to stir the pot a little bit?
Oh, and Brazil, that he could
Brazil on YouTube, Eagles, they've got the Fox 4:25 Eastern game. Then they have the Giants on. By the way, the Giants on Sunday Night Football is a head scratcher to me. I don't know. And then they have the Ravens on CBS at 4:25. That wouldn't be more fun for you?
Okay, so you want me to add fuel to the fire then?
Keep going. We never do this.
It also allows him to potentially be back if it's 4 games for Chiefs Bills.
Oh, see? This is way more fun than being level-headed.
Okay.
I'm kidding. We're being dramatic here, but it was funny because someone did tweet that out of me. I was like, you know what? Now that you say that, by the way, how many Giants primetime games do we have this season? Because I've seen a little bit.
It better be 1. Is that the only one?
Is that the only one?
I don't know.
Well, no, because they have Thanksgiving, right?
Are they at Thanksgiving?
Yeah. Are they not? Let me see. We'll figure it out later.
They have a Giants Patriots 8:15 December 1st, but is that a Sunday? Because that could be flexed.
Okay, that's true. Sorry, Giants fans. We're not trying to ruin your day.
That might be the only two. Oh wait, Eagles Giants October 9th.
They
That's
have to
a
play
Thursday.
you. Don't they play you on Thanksgiving?
No.
Who do you play?
Is it the Commanders? I forgot. No, okay. Commanders is Christmas. Cowboys is Christmas. The Giants Cowboys, the second game is the week 18. So,
oh, okay. You going to that one? That's a good one.
I am. But yeah, it looks like we have Giants Eagles. Looks like a Thursday night game, October 9th.
That could be good. Could be fun. nonetheless, I just wanted to throw out the, stir the pot a little bit. It's a Friday. The vibes are good, and that's what we're here to do. So we're going to continue monitoring that news. Again, we will break down a lot more of the Quinshon Judkins news with Zac Jackson here in just a few minutes. But we're going to continue on going through a target and fade for each round, going with rounds, 4+. We'll look at Sleeper. We'll look at ESPN. We're going to do that here coming up next. Oh, this is Fantasy Life. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam, Ronis with you right here. We're ready to talk to you guys too. If you have any questions at all, you're going into your drafts this weekend, any questions, dynasty, keeper, whatever it is, give us a call, 888-963-2682, or you can press that new call-in button on the Sirius XM app. You can also send us a message over there on X at KValenzuela17, at Adam Ronis over there, who doesn't want to dig into tinfoil hat conspiracy theories about the Chiefs today. It's fine. I thought you were going to be on board with that. I thought it was a fun one. By the way, the Giants have 3 primetime games, just like the Las Vegas Raiders and New England Patriots.
Yeah, it feels like too many for them, right? They feel like a team.
You're going to be good if you never watch the Giants play ever. So I feel like you're not the best person to ask.
I mean, let's be real about it. If you ask most people, they'd probably be like, yeah, 1 is enough. Malik Neighbors is there. He's fun to watch, but really?
There's 3 teams with 0 primetime games. You want to try and guess them?
Oh, okay. I'm going to say the Browns have to be 1.
Absolutely. There's one that's surprising. I'll say that. There's one surprising team with no primetime games.
I feel like I might be wrong on this one. Titans?
No, that is correct.
Oh, it is? Really?
Yes, it is.
Okay, the third one you said is a surprise?
No, the Titans to me were a surprise.
Oh, yeah, that's why I thought I might, when initially it came to my head and I was like, well, they have Cam Ward. Maybe they put them in there. That's why I was kind of...
I thought they would at least have 1 with Cam Ward, but they don't. 0. So the next one is...
the other one would have to be... No, Carolina has to have 1.
No, Carolina has 1.
Who would be the other? Can't be. I don't.
We were just there.
We were just there. The Saints. Oh
yes,
yeah. How did I forget that? That should have been the layup.
We were just there hanging out a couple months ago. I don't think that was a layup, but
I mean, they are pretty bad.
They are pretty bad. You're right. That's true. But those are the teams with 0 primetime games, just in case people needed to see it. All right, we're going through, Adam, you want to do a target and fade from each round here, presented by GoPuff. And the thing here, Adam, is that we're helping people try to nail their fantasy football drafts, but GoPuff is going to be able to do that for you because you can make sure to go to them. They have you covered for all the snacks. They've got the drinks. They've got the draft day party essentials that you need. So we're here to help you during your draft, but GoPuff can help you once you're drafting with your league mates. And I'm jealous for anyone drafting this weekend. So make sure you send us in some of your pictures, some of your screenshots of your teams that you're drafting this weekend, because we would love to see it. If we look at round 4, is Kenneth Walker in round 4 the guy that you're mostly targeting? Again, we're going to use sleeper ADP again for this, just to keep it really consistent from what we've been talking about. But is he the target for you? Do you still feel the same way, even with the injury concerns and everything like that? Could he be someone that really, really outperforms his ADP in this new offense?
Yeah, he can. I know some people might be shying away because of this foot injury, but it really sounds just like maintenance, and Seattle's being smart about it. But other people are going to be like, well, see, he gets hurt all the time. I'm not dealing with it. And look, he has missed time in each of his first 3 years. But last year, he was really good before he got injured. But the Clint Kubiak offense, which just sets up really well for him. A lot of the underlying metrics about him breaking tackles are good. And he's going to play a big part in offense. So I'm still fine taking him in round 4. I haven't actually got a lot of him, though. I don't know why. I guess because just the way the drafts are playing out. So would like to have some Kenneth Walker at some point.
I mean, if you're truly scared about the Kenneth Walker foot stuff, which is understandable. He missed 6 games last season, but we try to tell everyone that the Clint Kubiak offense and the potential for him to catch more passes is what keeps us very much involved with liking Kenneth Walker going into 2025. There's other good running backs in this range. You've got Chuba Hubbard. If you want the complete opposite of Kenneth Walker, and it's not necessary, if it's an injury thing, you can look to Omarion Hampton. Also is going in the 4th round, and it depends on where you draft, but he's just going to continue, it feels like, to get more and more expensive. But he does go in the 4th round. My most drafted, I think, in the 4th round has been George Kittle. But it's been that time, Adam. I've seen him creep into the 3rd round, and I'm just, at some point, I just have to say some guys just get a little bit too expensive. But Omarion Hampton, there's really good guys, especially running backs, especially if George Kittle makes it there into the 4th round. There's good, solid players in this range.
Yeah, and it's always tough. Like we're playing with a lot of sharp people in high stakes leagues, so sometimes it's a little different from those playing in home leagues. Because you are correct, Hampton is absolutely moving up to round 3. Kittle is moving up to round 3, especially with everything going on in San Francisco. If you can get those guys around 4, that would be great. So there's still a possibility. But again, in really sharp rooms, that's not going to happen. Those guys are moving up. But yes, their sleeper ADP is round 4.
Yeah. If we go into round 5, is the most obvious fade Joe Mixon? We could go a little bit deeper here. I feel like it's Joe Mixon because he's at 52, pick 52 with average draft position. Zay Flowers is another one where I have taken less and less of him as the season has come closer. I think the most that I was taking him was really early drafts. And I was just thinking like, okay, maybe in this range, it wasn't as many good wide receivers as it is right now. You've got RJ Harvey here now. You've got Tetairoa McMillan. You've got Devontae Smith, David Montgomery. So Zay Flowers, Joe Mixon in this 5th round for sleeper ADP is usually where I go for my fades.
Yeah, Zay Flowers, I just don't understand it. He's a really good player, but again, we're talking fantasy and we're talking statistics, and it's just not there for the price that you're paying. He had 116 targets last year. He had 4 touchdowns. He had 5 touchdowns in his rookie year. Lamar Jackson had a career high, 41 touchdown passes. So in his career year, the best we see from Zay Flowers is low wide receiver 3 in fantasy points per game. So they're a run-heavy team. They run near the goal line. When they do throw, it's Mark Andrews in the red zone. He had 11 touchdowns last year, and that's with him not even scoring, I think, the first 6 weeks of the season. But, yeah, Flowers a really good real-life player, but I just don't see it. And you could see it early in the year, too, if you look. It started well. Look at his targets the first few games of the season. 10, 11, 4, 2, 12, 9. So, okay, you had 4 games of at least 9 targets, but then they really started to get involved and feast in the run game. And a lot of, too, those games early were close. They lost a 7-point game to Kansas City. They beat Vegas by 3. They lost to Vegas by 3. Beat Dallas by 3. So you had close games there. But then they had a blowout overtime game, and then down the stretch, they started to have some games where they pulled away. So unless you believe the Ravens are going to play 3-point games every week and, be in shootouts, then maybe it's possible for Flowers, because that's when he had like 3 of his best games. But I just don't think it's going to be consistent. There's going to be too many weeks where they rely on the run, they spread the ball around, and you're just not going to get the numbers. And again, if he could only put up 4 touchdowns when Lamar had 41, what makes you think that, okay, this is the year he's going to score 8 or 9 touchdowns? Again, is it possible if he has like a 40-yard touchdown catch? He's going to need to break long plays and find the end zone for him to have a breakout season.
You nailed it. I think wide receiver 1 traits better in real life than we talk about for fantasy football, but he gives you what wide receiver 3 is usually what he comes down to. And that's what he's given us back-to-back seasons, 12.8, 12.3 points per game, 15 healthy games last season. He averaged 13.4 points last season. It's not enough for me to say, yeah, I love this range. I think he can break out. It's just not there for me. Again, in this range, when we're talking about targets and fades, there are other guys that I would rather go to, like Jamison Williams is in this range. You've got Devontae Smith, Cortland Sutton even right there, Xavier Worthy as well. So just better guys that I think can give you just a better outcome than wide receiver 3 in the 5th round. That's just not necessarily what you want. But again, targets and fades. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to get get you all ready for your fantasy football drafts. But GoPuff is going to be there during draft days. So make sure you get everyday essentials. Those get delivered in 15 minutes or less. You can use code FANTASYLIFE. This is great. You can use code FANTASYLIFE for 60% off your first order. Check out the GoPuff Draft Champion, the ultimate mock draft tool and live draft champion, right at fantasylife.com. Let's talk with Zac Jackson. So excited to have him back with us. We're talking Browns coming up next. We are so excited to have Zac Jackson back here with us, Browns and NFL writer for The Athletic, to talk through everything, Zac, that's going on with the Cleveland Browns. How you doing? Welcome in.
Well, if we're going to talk everything that's going on with the Browns, we're going to be on for like 4 hours. So let's just keep it to
what are we doing? What's going on? We had you last season. We were like, okay, this can't get much worse. And here we are with even more questions maybe than what we had last season. So, I mean, Zac, I think the biggest one for especially us, especially our listeners right now going into drafts this weekend is that the Cleveland Browns rookie running back, I should say, Quinshon Judkins, won't face a formal misdemeanor battery charge over the alleged domestic incident that happened last month. But the best way I think I can ask this question is, what does that mean? Do you think that there's a chance still that he gets a suspension in season, and just how do you look at this?
Yeah, the only thing we know it means, Kendall, is that if he'll play for the Browns is out, right? Like, he's going to play for the Browns. And he's probably going to play for the Browns this October or November. But the league could still suspend him. The league is still investigating, which is why the team was careful to have no formal comment. And he's not signed, remember. So whether he's suspended or not, he's missed all of training camp. He's not going to play in September. So what I would do as a fantasy player who was interested in a guy who they definitely saw as their leading touch guy, right? And they definitely saw as their short yardage guy. I would count on him not being a factor at all through at least 4 games and maybe more like 5 or 6. And I would guess right now that he will play at the end of the year, but he has not been in a practice since the spring and he's not under contract right now. So I would still tread a little bit lightly.
So if that were to come to fruition, like you said, what would you see his role being when he comes back? Will it take some time? Does it depend on what Sampson and Ford are doing? Like, what's the best case scenario for Judkins when he comes back?
Yeah, I think all of the above, Adam. I think it was always going to take some time, but he was going to have a role. So I can't imagine that he's going to be 15, 20 touches right off the bat, but we'll see. I don't know what's in front of him. They drafted him over Travion Henderson because they saw him as the best fit for their offense and the better short yardage runner, the better inside the tackles runner. And Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson are not that. So that's his role as soon as he's cleared and ready. When that's going to be, we don't know. And then whoever plays the best, whatever situations they're in, will dictate it from there. You know, Kevin Stefanski's best offenses have been running-based offenses. Now, that was Nick Chubb in his prime and Kareem Hunt in his prime, right? But they haven't had that guy, and they drafted Judkins to be that guy. So I think he's going to produce this year. But, you know, where he is, everything, physically, mentally, when he gets into camp, when he's eligible to play, I can't give you a fair guess. And I think there's only probably a very few people who could at this moment.
So when you look at the backfield then, because a lot of us have been drafting more Dylan Sampson. I mean, up until yesterday, Zac, we were sitting here saying there's no way we're going to even think about drafting Quinchon Judkins because, like you said, he's unsigned. Right. We didn't know what was happening with the legal situation. And this is how quickly things can change in the NFL. So there is a situation now, like you said, that he plays this season. But we've been more targeting Dylan Sampson because it feels like he would have been the one with a little bit more juice in that backfield for fantasy purposes than when we look at Jerome Ford.
So for the last 8 days and probably for the next 4 weeks, it's really a 1A, 1B situation with Sampson and Ford. You know, there's uncertainty with Sampson because he's a rookie. We've seen Ford produce for this team, and we've seen him do it most and do it best as the number 2, right? Dylan Sampson is listed at 5'8", 200, and both of those are lies. They just are. So he's small. He's not going to be 20 touches, right? The guy I would be drafting is Jerome Ford, because he's going to be at very least a 1B to start the season. And then if everything goes well for Judkins and Sampson, Jerome Ford will be traded to a good offense by the trade deadline. He's only under contract for this year. He took a pay cut to ensure that he would stay on this team. He's the lead. He's the most talented back. He's the most proven back on this team. He's going to get his opportunities, and we'll see how it goes. But I really think they've always intended to trade him.
Looking at the quarterback room, it looks like no one is healthy right now.
One, the old guy is.
They've kept him off the field, so that's kept him healthy, not participating in games. But what's the latest on Shedeur Sanders? He obviously looked pretty good in that first game, and it looks like he won't play. And what does that mean for him going forward?
Yeah, he's out indefinitely. Now, could that mean 4 days? Sure. But he's definitely not, wasn't throwing yesterday, is definitely not going to play tomorrow. And he just has to get back to Cleveland and get more treatment and see where he is. With roster cut downs, Adam, 11 days away, I think IR is a possibility. Now, I could be totally wrong because he could be practicing in 5 days when they're back in Cleveland. But Shedeur Sanders was never, ever, ever going to play a real down for the Cleveland Browns until November 1st at earliest. And maybe not ever, or maybe next year, right? So I don't really consider him that much of a fantasy option. As far as like, if he only misses a couple weeks, what kind of setback is it? Well, obviously for a rookie, but they were pretty clear he was fourth in line anyway. So I think because Dylan Gabriel has been so bad and because they've shown such resistance to putting Shedeur in any spot, I think they were always intending to keep 4 because they learned their lesson 2 years ago that if you have a rookie backup, something strange is going to happen and that rookie's going to have to play. That happened with DTR, right? So as of this moment, with 3 injured quarterbacks to some degree, all of which we don't know, Joe Flacco is going to be the starter. Kenny Pickett is probably going to be the backup unless there's some trade for him. And then there's a line behind them, and we'll see what the circumstances are. I think there's a chance Joe Flacco plays well and gives this offense a chance in the vertical game. And I think there's a chance that the rookies are playing by Halloween.
That was going to be my question, Zach, is what's the, for fantasy, because we always want to say, all right, this could be really bad, but, Jerry Jeudy is still a guy that we have to talk about. I mean, yeah. David Njoku 2 years ago when he had Joe Flacco, you're hoping you get that connection back with him because Joe Flacco last season just wasn't great. So a best case scenario that you could see is what? Joe Flacco plays well, plays for maybe 6 to 8 weeks. We've always just assumed that he's not going to play a whole season, that eventually someone else is going to come in and we'll at least have 2 quarterbacks that we see for the Browns this season. Are you on this? Is that the same thought for you?
Yeah. And I think if you look at it from a fantasy standpoint, if you want to gamble on Joe Flacco, you're gambling that he gets hot and plays most of the season, right? I think the more reality-based take is that he plays 6-ish games, 8-ish games. I believe their bye week is right at 8. They come home from London after game 5. A lot of times that's when you see, although the Browns will not be switching quarterbacks after London because they come home for 4 days and go to Pittsburgh where they haven't won a regular season game in 22 years. Okay. Right. So 6-ish games is right around there. But the wild card is Kenny Pickett, who a lot of people thought that the organization wanted to start. And a lot of people thought the organization, which obviously is really bad at evaluating quarterback talent, had this hope that Kenny Pickett was going to turn into something. 4 days into camp, he gets hurt and hasn't taken a full, practice rep since. So would Joe Flacco get pulled for him? Would some team be interested in trading if there is a quarterback calamity here over the next couple of preseason weekends? We don't know that. I would feel pretty confident saying that for the start of the season, the Browns will have 4 and maybe only 3 on the active roster if Shedeur ends up landing on IR for 4 weeks to start the year. But that's an if, and we really don't know that right now. Mm-hmm.
I saw you just wrote stock up on Harold Fannin Jr. What do you see his role being in this offense?
Well, I mean, I was worried about him being able to win like the clear number 2 tight end role because that's so much dirty work and blocking. And he's a 21-year-old that played in the MAC. But it's been pretty clear that he's out there. And Adam, they've played him at fullback. He threw passes in yesterday's practice. They lined him up at wide receiver. Harold Fannin is going to play a lot for this Browns team. So I don't know if they can trade David Njoku, if they want to trade David Njoku. From week to week, from day to day, those of us who cover the Browns know you don't know if you're getting the best version of David Njoku, which is top 3 talented tight end in this league, or the worst version of David Njoku, which you've gotten for 90% of his career. We just don't know, right? He's only under contract for this year. So Harold Fannin, to me, like in a best ball format, is a really incredible end of the draft pick because he could just accidentally catch 50 passes. Like he could. And like the receiving core is so bad that he's going to play. Like it is so bad that he's going to play. And maybe those 50 passes are mostly for 6 yards, right? But like there's also a scenario where Harold Fannin is the tight end 1 for the Cleveland Browns for the back half of the season.
Other than that, Zach, how's your offseason been?
It is terrible. Covering this team is an absolute joke. It is so terrible.
I'm so sorry. We can ask you, hey, I'll finish this off on a high note. Who's your one-on-one this season? How many drafts have you done? What are we looking at?
I do play best ball, but I don't have any delusions that I really know what I'm doing. So I'll build a few, try to get different. But I would say this, since training camp started, I think I've picked 3 teams and I've made sure I got Harold Fannin in like round 17 or 18 in all of them.
Okay, I love that. We'll probably use that for social. I'm going to let you know. But Zach, we appreciate you as always coming on. Hopefully, maybe next time it'll be under way better circumstances, but I'm not going to, I'm not going to hold my breath for that anymore. All
right, I guess I'll talk to you in 4 years then.
All right. Well, we appreciate you. Have a great time, finishing out in Philly there. And hopefully, maybe we'll talk to you here in the middle of the season, it feels like, but we appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
All right, there he goes. Zac Jackson again from The Athletic. Make sure you go and check out all of his stories over there. Does a great, Adam, that's a phenomenal interview every time. He gives us everything we need from a fantasy perspective. We just love having Zac on. Make sure you guys go give him a follow too. That was fantastic.
Yeah, and basically saying he doesn't expect Judkins to do anything for the first month. That's interesting.
Let's keep breaking that down, because the name that we haven't been talking about maybe is the name that we need to be talking about on this team for this running back room, and that is maybe potentially Jerome Ford. So let's go from this is perfect though, because we're going to talk about trying to find some treasure here, and maybe Jerome Ford is that guy, but we're going to talk about some other players too, see if we can find them a good season in 2025. We're going to do that coming up next. Oh, it is a great day to be here with you guys right here, Fantasy Life on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Again, Adam, we said it in the beginning, but the vibes are immaculate. Maybe not for poor Zach in Philadelphia covering the Cleveland Browns, but he is amazing and does a great interview. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what he just told us, because there was actually a lot of fantasy football takeaways from that. The first one being, and we'll talk about, maybe guys that we're looking at hopefully to be more treasure this season than what they were in years past. But Jerome Ford was one of my big takeaways. We'll talk about Harold Fannin, but him saying that Quinshon Judkins, if you're going into drafts this weekend, that he said October, November is the expectation for Quinshon Judkins. And that could be something that if you're listening right now that you can use to your advantage, because if you're saying October, November, and that is what Zac Jackson from The Athletic told us just a few minutes ago, that he expects him to be out there then, the rankings will move him up, because I know you and I had him around RB, 70, 75 or something like that. So we have to move him up, but that still doesn't give me confidence right now, unless you can't really put him in the IR spot. So it's one where maybe you're just still not drafting him.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation. And, you hope that maybe more news comes out over the next week or two before you draft. Obviously, if you're drafting this weekend, you're going to have to make that decision. And I'd probably at this point pass. Again, there still could be a suspension handed down by the NFL as well. He still needs to sign a contract. He needs to get into practice as well. So it could take some time. And if October is truly what's going to happen, that's not ideal, because again, you are going to deal with injuries and other issues once the season starts. Everyone looks at it and says, okay, well, I'll be without him for X amount of games, thinking that everything else on the roster is just going to work perfectly. It just doesn't happen, which is why it's more difficult to take on multiple players that are dealing with injury, PUP list, or suspension. It's really only one of those guys. Once you start getting into multiple, it's going to create chaos on your roster, because the injuries will happen in week one. It's just every year. If you played fantasy football a long time, you have multiple teams, you just do not get out unscathed. There's always going to be injuries on your roster. Maybe 1 out of 100 you get lucky and you have hardly any injuries, but we all know it's going to happen. So that's why you really have to be calculated when you're taking on these potential risks, like Judkins, where again, we just don't know when he'll be back.
Yeah, that is the biggest question, is when, because again, true statement, and this could change. Like we said, we were saying 2 days ago, whatever it was, that we weren't drafting Quinchon Judkins. And this is how fast it changes in the NFL when we get news like this. So you have to understand that was our take, yesterday. And now we have to kind of reevaluate what our situation is. I'm with you. Especially after talking with Zac Jackson, where I'm not necessarily going to push him up and force him onto any of my teams. But let me ask you this, Adam, because I did see a couple questions via Twitter, via X, at KValenzuela17, at Adam Ronis, of people drafting this weekend. Where do you pick him up if he falls? Because if you're basing this on ADP, ESPN, he goes pick 144. Yahoo, he goes pick 103, 107 on CBS. Sleeper, we always say it's really sharp people in there. So he's picked 73 still on Sleeper, 71, excuse me, on Sleeper.
Yeah, can't do that.
Can't do it there. But FFPC, he's picked 130. Where, if you were in a draft this weekend, if he falls into what round would you consider taking Quinchon Judkins?
Tough call. I'd probably say it's round 10 on.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because I got him almost by accident yesterday in round 14 of a draft.
That's
fine. My second to last pick.
That's no problem, because that's a pick that you're often cutting anyway. So round 14, it's an easy call. That's probably not going to happen, though. People see this news. He's going to move up. You said he went around 6th of the Flex League draft?
From Dwayne McFarland took him in the 6th round on the turn.
I liked his draft, too.
Oh, yeah, he had a good draft. But
yeah.
6th round is too early. I'll let anyone else take him. I can't do 6. And you're right, it's probably at 10 or 11 there for me too.
Yeah, and I think this is changing. Like we said yesterday, where we said we wouldn't draft him. I stand by it. That was based on the news at the time. We had no idea that all of a sudden Chargers were going to be dropped. It was a guy that didn't sign a contract, that wasn't in training camp in mid-August. How could you make a justification for taking him in the first 7, 8, 9 rounds?
Yeah, it's tough. And maybe we need to reevaluate our stance on Jerome Ford as well, because that was the guy that he brought up a lot. So I think that's interesting to be maybe a later round dart throw, along with Dylan Sampson. So great stuff over there from Zac Jackson. But we have even better news. We get to talk with Greg Olsen here coming up next. Guys, we are so excited to be back with you here. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis, and the one and only, you see him on your screen right now, Greg Olsen is joining us, former All-Pro and award-winning broadcaster. Greg, thank you so much for taking the time here to join us today. How you doing?
Yeah, doing great. Thanks for having me.
I have to start off with this, Greg, because I heard from someone, maybe in this Zoom call, maybe not, that you're coming from training camp practice for your son. And we were told the coaching staff lineup, and I just want to know how that's legal. Like, it's not only you, but you've got Keekly out there, you've got your dad, and you're training your son and doing a training camp. I just want to know how that got past everyone. You must be an alpha team.
We're trying. We're not there yet, but you know what? We have a really good group of boys. We've done this now at our kids' middle school for the 2nd year. So we've been coaching a lot of these boys since they were little, and it's fun to see them grow. Now they're in 7th and 8th grade. We tell them all the time, like, we're playing real football now, right? It's not 4th and 5th grade. We're just kind of teaching everybody how to buckle their chin straps. Now we're playing real football. We're competing, and we're teaching them what it's like to get ready for high school. And we have a lot of fun. We've had a long week. We've had a long training camp week, and everyone's ready for a long weekend to give the kids a break, but they work hard. They're great kids, and we have a lot of fun.
I love it. I love it. Well, again, we're excited to have you on with us here. I want to start off by you recently saying that this is the golden age of tight ends in the NFL. So when you say that, why do you think this? And to me, I want to know, like, what you're seeing from the tight ends today that maybe you hadn't seen from previous generations.
Yeah, I think when I think back to early in my career, especially when I was in Chicago as a young player, there was some iconic guys, right? We just saw Antonio Gates get inducted to the Hall of Fame, and Tony Gonzalez and Jason Witten, and it was on the tail end of Shannon Sharp. So, I mean, there was a lot of really good players at the tight end position, but it was top heavy. Now you look pretty much across the league, every single team in the league, at least the good teams, the playoff teams, and everyone has a significant contributor at the tight end position, if not one of their best players. So it's just, I think more kids now are growing up playing the position. It's no longer the converted offensive lineman, the converted quarterback, the wide receiver who was too slow, the kid who thought he was a basketball player at 17. And nowadays, these kids are growing up their whole lives learning the tight end position. And I think you can see it. I think more kids are coming out of college prepared. There's a lot of bigger bodies that are playing more athletic skill positions on offense. And I think the results speak for themselves. I mean, the last couple teams to be in the Super Bowl, all the way back to when we were playing 10 years ago, if you're going to make a run, it's almost unheard of to make a run without one of the prominent tight ends in the league. And there's been some really good guys that have paved the way, a lot of the names I just mentioned, but you can make an argument from top to bottom across all 32 teams. I'm not sure there's ever been a better crop of NFL tight ends than there is right now.
That's the other thing too, is we used to in fantasy be like, we can't take a rookie tight end. It takes them some time to adjust to the league and put up numbers. That has changed. Sam Laporta 2 years ago, Brock Bowers setting records last year. So why are tight ends coming in now and making such a quick impact compared to recent seasons?
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, I think back to my rookie year, I had 30 something catches and a couple hundred yards, but back then guys didn't make the immediate impact, right? You think, Jeremy Shockey was probably the exception to the rule in his time in New York. I think he was a Pro Bowler as a rookie. So there's a handful of exceptions, but I think a big reason why we're seeing it now is kind of to my last point where, Brock Bowers played, 3 years of tight end at Georgia. He wasn't a receiver. He wasn't a linebacker. He wasn't a converted basketball player or a quarterback. He came into the league with multiple years at a prominent school playing that position he plays in the NFL. And the same thing with Laporta and George Kittle and a lot of these guys that have come out in the last handful of years. They've played big time college football playing relatively traditional tight end position. So I think it's a big part of the development. I think teams have a better understanding nowadays on how to get the best. I think back to my rookie year, and before they let me ever run a route, I had to prove my worth an inside run trying to block 280-pound defensive ends, and that was a tough battle for a lot of these guys. Teams have smartened up. They're saying, listen, we didn't drop Brock Bowers to be a grinder in the run game. We need this dude to get down the field and create explosive plays in the pass. And teams are using the guys to their skill set. So I think it's a combination. The players better. I think the coaches have a better understanding for the position as time goes. And people aren't trying to just fit, square pegs and round holes anymore, like maybe they did, 15 years ago.
And again, we're talking with the one and only Greg Olsen. So excited to have you on the show. Piggybacking off that question then, what are your expectations for, the two rookies that we're most excited for in fantasy this season? It's Tyler Warren, it's Colston Loveland. Not necessarily for fantasy the best landing spots, whether it's quarterback competitions that they're going through or, a lot of mouths to feed for the Bears. But what are your expectations for both of them?
Yeah, so I'm actually excited to see Colston play this weekend. I'm actually calling the game up in Chicago. Buffalo is traveling to Chicago to play the Bears this weekend. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play. I obviously got to see him a handful of games just on TV in college. But just watching the little bit that I have of him, he's one of those young tight ends that they can create their own opportunities. You don't have to scheme. I always say there's and this is probably a good fantasy type conversation. There's two types of tight ends that play in the NFL. There's a guy got a scheme open, and there's a guy that can get himself open. The super elite players do both, right? They play in an unbelievable system that plays to their strengths. And then when it's not the perfect look, it's not the perfect play call, they can make themselves open and go above the beyond the play, right? That's Kelsey, that's Kittle, that's the real top guys. So if you have a guy who's a good player who goes to a great system for the tight end, he can be really productive. And if you have a guy who's just an elite, a Brock Bowers or something who's just an elite athlete and can really get himself open in the right system, those guys become top tier. So I think you look at Loveland, I think in Ben Johnson's system, the only thing going against them is there are a lot of other weapons, right? There's Rome Odunze, there's DJ Moore, they're still developing Caleb Williams. So is it a run heavy type play action? But Ben Johnson showed that he's going to get his young tight ends involved. He did it in Detroit with Laporta. I really like him. I haven't studied Tyler Warren as much, granted, just been in league a couple weeks, but watching what he did at Penn State was pretty impressive. He's kind of a jack of all trades, line up in a million different positions. And it'll be really interesting to see what Shane Steichen does getting him rolling.
We saw the Panthers down the stretch last year play really good football. They were competitive against Kansas City, competitive against Philadelphia. Bryce Young finished the season well, showed some rushing ability. They draft Teteroa McMillan. What are your thoughts on the Panthers for this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement coming off of last year. Like you said, it's kind of the pre-benching and the post-benching that they were kind of tale of two teams, tale of two quarterbacks. So I think Dave Canales and Dan Morgan, the head coach and GM, I think they've done a great job continuing to build around Bryce to make sure that he has the supporting cast that he needs. Last year, it was really the offensive line. They drafted Leggett. Now this year, they drafted McMillan. So there's definitely not a shortage of skill around him. The defense is going to continue to get better, especially on the back secondary outside of J.C. Horn. They've got to defend the pass better, especially if the offense gets better. The better your offense is, the more you have to be good defending the pass, right? It kind of goes hand in hand, complementary style offense and defense. So I think they're on their way. I think the division, there's some winnable games in that NFC South division that helps them schedule wise. But I really think that Dave Canales is doing a good job getting this thing going in the right direction.
And you said you're seeing the Bears this weekend. You get to call that game. Oh, how for us, Greg, because this is interesting for fantasy football. We're trying to decipher a lot of different things where we get breadcrumbs throughout the preseason games and just training camp. We want to know if Breece Hall is going to be in a rotation, what it's going to look like for Travis Hunter. Is he really going to get 80% of the offensive snaps? What do we look at during different situations throughout training camp as someone that's played and is now covering the NFL? How do we go about kind of learning what we're trying to see is going to happen when week one starts?
It's hard. Kind of seeing the forest through the trees is always a challenge. I'll tell you, it's a challenge for the coaching staff. It's a challenge for the front office. There were seasons where we couldn't win a game in the preseason, but we would sit in our meetings and be like, "We're pretty good." Like,
Mhm.
I think we're gonna have a. And then there were games that years that you did really well in the preseason. The scoreboard tells you that you're going to be great, but internally you look around and you go, I'm not sure if we have the pieces, right? I'm not sure if we're there. So it's not so much wins and losses. I think the really good teams approach preseason as, let's see our processes, let's see our execution, let's really see guys' understanding of the playbook, let's see technique. I don't know. I think a guy can go out in the preseason and have a game where he gets 7 passes and catches them all. And the assumption is, oh my God, he's going to be the number 1 or 2 receiver. It doesn't usually play out that way. I think it's very hard. So I think I really think you have to take into mind who the coaches are from a fantasy perspective. I would say I'm looking at track record of the coach. I'm looking at track record of the quarterback. I'm looking at this system. Do they feature running backs in the passing game? Do they feature tight ends in the running game? Are they trying to spread wide receiver targets amongst 2 guys or 4? Right. That makes a big difference in my volume and stuff. So I think the preseason only tells part of the story. I think track record of for sure coach and quarterback would probably be my biggest considerations.
The Ravens and the Bills have been so close, but they can't get past that Kansas City team. Do you see either the Ravens or the Bills reaching the Super Bowl this year?
I think they're capable. I think you look at Buffalo. Obviously, I've studied them just a little bit more this week, getting ready for this game. Projected 20 out of 22 starters, coming back from a team that, again, is right on the doorstep of winning the AFC and representing them in the Super Bowl. So I think they're close. I think, you got an MVP guy on both teams, caliber, with Lamar and with Josh Allen. So you have an MVP type guy at the quarterback position, the consistency that they both do at coach with Harbaugh and McDermott. I think those are the pieces that you look for. But the problem is, so does the other team that you're trying to catch, right? So it's very rare for one conference, right? You go back to like the Brady days with the Patriots, and it was them, and it was, it was Manning and Colts and whatnot. So it's just rare that there's 3 MVP type quarterbacks, Hall of Fame caliber coaches, longevity. They've been there for a long time. It's not year 2, it's not year 3. They all 3 of those guys. I mean, obviously Andy and Harbaugh, they've been in the league a million years. But like there's so much consistency at coach, roster, and quarterback. It's very rare for 3 of those teams to live within the same conference for this long length of time. So until someone beats Kansas City in the AFC Championship, we're going to continue to ask this question. Can those teams pass them? Absolutely. Will they? I don't think anyone could sit here and just say they're doing anything other than just guessing.
All right, Greg, I'm excited to talk to you about You Think, because this is something that is near and dear to your heart, of course. But we got news just a couple days ago that you are, officially launching You Think. It's the digital platform built to support youth sports community. You've got great storytelling on there. You've got an exclusive interview right now going on with Tom Brady that everyone needs to go check out. But why You Think? What is it that makes this so near and dear to your heart?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I always say my full-time job right now is as a youth sports parent and coach. And I'll tell you, it's challenging. It's a very different landscape in a world than I grew up playing in. It's a lot more competitive. It's a lot more intense. And we've got to make sure that we give these kids the right processes and the right advice and the right environment to grow and develop, and also give the parents and the coaches the right tools and resources to lead these kids in the right direction. And whether it's talking to Tom about his backstory and his upbringing and his views on so many of these other hot button topics, or talking to Malcolm Gladwell. He'll be one of our guests in the next couple weeks, one of the largest, world renowned thought, leader in so many different areas, especially relevant to the world of just parenting and coaching and youth sports and whatnot. Ryan Day, the national champion, now coach of Ohio State, sat down with me. I mean, we got a really cool, unique, wide berth of guests that I think bring a lot of insight that a lot of our followers and listeners, as parents, coaches, or athletes, can take a lot from. And then the other side of that is there's a commerce engine that we can really improve. You want to wear, we always joke, everyone's favorite team is whatever their son or daughter is playing on, right? They love the Carolina Panthers, but they really love their kids' travel ball team, and they really love their kids' high school football team. Why not give that experience of merchandise and fanware and teamwear up to the standard that we're accustomed to when we go to Fanatics and buy a Carolina Panthers, jersey or t-shirt or whatever it is. So it's a really cool commerce engine. It's a really cool content platform. And we think it's going to really improve the experience of everybody right now in the world of youth sports.
Oh, that's awesome. And again, if people haven't gone, make sure you go and check it out, www.youth.inc, or you can make sure to go follow them on social media at Youth Inc., all across every platform. And it's nice, Greg, because it's obviously near and dear to your heart, and it's something you just came from a training camp for your son's, your son's team that you coach with your dad. So it's almost like, making it better for kids and making, places better where you came from and making it better for them sounds amazing.
It is. It's very rewarding. It can be frustrating at times and aggravating, but when you take a step back and look at it, it's very rewarding.
I've got one more for you before we let you go, and it is the most impossible start, sit, cut question probably of your life for fantasy football. So start, sit, cut: Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, George Kittle.
Start, sit, cut. I'm going to start Kittle. I'm going to sit Bowers, and I guess I have to cut Trey McBride. And I'll give you my rationale. I think they're all three obviously incredible. You said it's a very hard one.
Yep.
I think Kittle and McCaffrey, I think, are going to be the focal point, especially early in that offense. I think obviously with Ayuk being injured and coming back, Ricky Pearsall, a rookie, coming back, Debo's gone. I think McCaffrey healthy obviously will get a ton of carries, as he should. He should get the ball a bazillion times. I think him and Kittle carry the volume for that offense, and nobody understands how to get the best players on his team the ball as good as Kyle Shanahan. Bowers, I think last year, as great as he is and was, and I think he's going to be good for a long time. I think with Pete Carroll and that new system, I think so much of production sometimes can be masqueraded in my team is always losing. And we're so bad that I'm just always out there in 2-minute drill and I'm picking up a lot of yardage. And not all of his yards are obviously garbage time. I'm just saying the volume of opportunities when you're playing in shootouts and you're playing from behind, I think it's going to be a little more of a run heavy organization. I think Ashton Genty and Pete Carroll's track record with Geno Smith, I think they're going to be a run first volume offense with the play action stuff off of there. And I think Trey McBride's a great player. Last year, I think, from a fantasy perspective, he didn't score a ton of touchdowns. I don't remember when he scored his first. I just remember calling his game. It was like, this guy's on a historic pace of catches and yards. And I don't think he had a touchdown through I don't know, you probably could tell me better. 10 games.
Yeah, it was like week 17. It might have been.
Yeah, it was something crazy. So, but no, I think he's a really good young player. Just got paid a lot in that system. So again, all three equally great players. But if you put a gun to my head, that's probably what I would stick with.
I love it. Well, Greg, we appreciate you so much for joining us again. And we are so excited to not only, check out You Think, but see that interview with Tom Brady. And good luck this season. We're excited to listen to you and have a great year.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys having me.
All right. There he goes, Greg Olsen. We'll be back with you guys here shortly. Oh, we told you all that today's vibes were going to be immaculate. Just spoke with Greg Olsen, which was amazing, Adam. So fun. We got the Zac Jackson interview for the Browns. It's been a great day. And we still got a couple segments left. Look at us.
Yeah, it has. Again, as we are in the middle of draft season and feels like news is breaking every day. to change things. So you have to be on top of everything.
Pay attention when you're drafting this weekend. If you are, just always keep either your phone or your laptop or something, and just make sure you keep that open in case it happens. You just told us a story about how it happened to you, Adam, where it's, you're in a draft, the preseason games go on, and sometimes guys get hurt during those. You have to pay attention, and we're here to help as well. So the call-in number is 888-963-2682, or you can press that new call-in button on the Sirius XM app. We love to hear from you all. If you've got questions before your drafts, make sure you call us in. Send us a message at Valenzuela17, at Adam Ronis over there on X. I've got a good one. This is why I love hearing from you guys, because this question, Adam, I've never gotten a question like this. 12-man keeper league, special rule. Draft or pick up a player from the Bears. They are locked on your team for the remainder of the season. No dropping, no IR, no trades. So if you believe in the Bears and are committed to that decision, do you think Rome Odunze is still worth targeting? That's first of all, love the rules. Second of all, love the question. If you weren't able to drop, trade, or just put him on IR, would you draft Rome Odunze this year?
Yes. Yeah, of course there's a little hesitation, but we have been hearing really positive things about him, and that the connection is there with Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Rome Odunze, last season it wasn't great. He was, someone I drafted heavily, and it came back to bite me a little bit. You were able to kind of get around it depending on how you drafted, but he didn't live up to my expectations. He goes right now, consensus ADP, it's round 7. It was horrible. He averaged 8.6 fantasy points during his rookie season. That was the 3rd worst mark, by the way, for any top 10 NFL draft selection to play at least 8 games since 2011. So it was horrible. The Bears offense, though, could look dramatically different in 2025 with Ben Johnson calling the plays. Hopefully Caleb Williams. The big thing, hopefully Caleb Williams takes a step forward too. But Keenan Allen, and 27% of those targets are up for grabs since he left. I think that's the bigger part that I look at. And I know that we say, all right, 27% of the targets are up for grabs, but they added Colston Loveland, but they added Luther Burden. And I get all of that, but it's still something that 27% is a lot. And I think as bad as Odunze was, there is a chance that he has a really, really good sophomore season. And I do think he's a potential breakout candidate as well. It's all right there for him.
Yeah, a lot comes down to Caleb Williams, and also, again, how the football is going to be distributed, because you do have DJ Moore, Colston Loveland, Luther Burden. So there's a lot there, but Odunze was also very talented in his own right. And yeah, last year I was not surprised that he did not have the big year, because you had Keenan Allen, you had DJ Moore, and there was not enough in that offense to go around for Odunze to produce. And that's where sometimes a lot of talented players come into the NFL. What's the situation? And that just was not a great situation for Odunze last year. It's definitely better this year, as you mentioned, with Keenan Allen and his huge target share departing. There are other players, though, but you do like to hear that the connection with Odunze and Caleb Williams has looked good here in camp.
Absolutely. And I wanted to make sure during this segment here that we were going through kind of the questions that still need answers, right? We've got a lot of question marks going into the second week of these preseason games. A lot of guys that we want to see probably aren't going to be out there playing. The Bears, obviously, we just went through one, and shout out to that message over there on X. Again, at Valenzuela17, at Adam Ronis. If you've got questions, can't call in right now, make sure to send them our way, and we're going to try and get those answered. I do want to go over to the Dallas Cowboys. I think that's still another team. Obviously, less question marks with Dak Prescott, with George Pickens, with CeeDee Lamb over there, but it's still a question of, Adam, if we expect a committee approach at running back, and which running backs between Javonte Williams, between Miles Sanders, between Jaden Blue can prove themselves to maybe get ahead of the others here. So at this point in the offseason, I looked, and I have taken the most Jaden Blue. Up until this point, I was sprinkling in a little Javonte Williams. Miles Sanders is the one I have the least amount of exposure to, but it might be a thing where we don't necessarily get answers in the preseason, and we have to wait till week 1 or going through the season. But is Jaden Blue the guy that you've taken the most of from this backfield as well?
Yeah, it is definitely a backfield where there's a lot of question marks right now. And Javonte Williams has been the healthiest of late, but even just reading some of the quotes, it's not about his play. It's about him being a veteran and professional.
Yeah,
we saw the same thing with Nick Chubb too. Like, yeah, it's nothing about their play on the field. So, Javonte Williams did show the ability to catch the football last year, but Blue is explosive. Now, I don't think he has the size to be a feature back, or they don't plan on doing that, but they're going to use him quite a bit out of the backfield, and especially if they are playing from behind and pass heavy, that could cater to Blue's talent. So considering too the price where you're typically getting him in the double-digit rounds, that's the guy that I'm looking at.
Here's the quote on Javonte Williams, which again was not good. I think experience and wisdom. I know that he's not a real older player, but he's been through some things in the league. So you see a really good level of maturity in the guy. You really see that the most when he's helping his teammates. Yikes. That's from their offensive coordinator. I don't know. Javonte Williams. What could have been with Javonte is the thing that I think about. And I know that people look back on what he was able to give us years ago, but the injuries, what he didn't show us in Denver makes me realize that it's probably best to go and look at Jaden Blue than anyone else on this team. And then I think another question, a lot of these are running backs, right? These are a lot of running back questions. I want to revisit the New York Giants because we do joke a lot about me drafting Cam Skattebo, and I still do like Cam Skattebo, but backfield,
don't lie.
Don't do this. Don't do this. What?
Because I always say the truth is revealed when you're on the clock. Here you were yesterday in the flex draft that was broadcast right on this channel. You had 2 opportunities to take Cam Skattebo, and you passed.
That's right. Yes, I did pass. I needed to think of my team and what I needed in the moment. And what I needed in the moment, Adam, was a wide receiver. Don't do this to me. Don't stir the pot. Let's look at my exposure on Underdog. You could have passed on Baker Mayfield.
You could have passed on Baker Mayfield.
I didn't want to take the risk. Anyway,
right. Just don't be. Adam. You're not a Skattebo stan anymore. So
here we go. What? Okay. Are you done?
Yes.
Can we talk? Okay. Good. It's so funny. Cam Skattebo. Realistically, though, the backfield touches trending between Tyrone Tracy and Cam Skattebo. With Cam being injured, we talk about how important it is for any rookie to be out right now at training camp in the preseason. He's been held back because of his injury. Hamstring, right? I want to make sure I'm getting that right. It's a hamstring?
I don't know if they ever specified it. It wasn't a leg, right? I don't know if they ever said that was like what I saw going around, but I don't know if they ever specified exactly what it is.
Okay, I want to make sure I get that right. So I'll keep looking at that, but he hasn't been out there because of this injury. So realistically, really from the beginning, Cam Skattebo has been way more expensive since he's been drafted in drafts. People loved him. They jumped on the Cam Skattebo train, which I love. But with this injury, Tyrone Tracy is, if you had to pick one or the other right now, is Tyrone Tracy the one? Or you could just say that you don't want to really target any of these guys. It just depends on where they fall in the draft for you. But with the backfield touches, how do you think that this works out?
Yeah, right now, obviously, Tracy is the guy that you're taking, and he's being drafted higher. But we also have to keep in mind, too, that this is a 17-week season if you get to the championship. So just because guys are injured now doesn't mean that they're just completely off the fantasy radar for the season. But, yeah, Skattebo, you aren't feeling as good right now because he's missed crucial time in camp as a rookie. It's allowed Tracy to take control of the backfield. So I still think Skattebo can play a role at some point, but this is just not the ideal start. So you can draft him, but that you're likely not getting much from him early in the season. So again, roster construction comes into play. Does he fit your build where you go, okay, I'm comfortable knowing that I might not get anything from him the first couple weeks?
What was that? If he fits your build, right? That's what didn't happen to me yesterday.
But you had no injuries.
No, I just didn't. I just couldn't. I needed a wide receiver in that range.
Nah, you didn't.
I did. Don't listen to Adam. Everyone just don't listen to him. But his ADP right now obviously has fallen a little bit. 118 over on ESPN. He's picked 101 on Sleeper. 113 on Yahoo. This is Cam Skattebo. And then 97 on CBS. So again, that's one of the bigger questions that I'm looking at. Even just whatever Adam's saying, don't listen to him. I'm still taking him in drafts. Just maybe not yesterday. Sorry. Can't, 100%. It's
we'll
it's
see. Next draft that we're in together, Greenwich Street Tavern draft next weekend. I want to see
30 minutes. How about that? 30 minutes. I'll make sure.
Where are you picking?
Great news. I think I have a good pick in this one, but let me see. I know that in our St. Jude League, did you see we got pick 3?
Oh, I didn't even know. We got pick 3.
Pick 3.
So the slow draft starts
Monday.
Every draft, top 5. What is this?
Well, I'm excited. I haven't gotten the top 3 pick
I also
yet.
have pick 3 in the Greenwich Street Tavern League.
I know. Well, that was rigged because you gave me 12.
Not.
You gave me 12, so
I did not give you 12. It's called a draft generator.
It's over. I got pick 2.
Wow, there you go.
2. There we go. In a 14-team league. That's okay. I like it.
Well, you did 14-team league yesterday at 14. Now you got 2. So there you go.
Now we get the total opposite there.
No more complaining.
Whatever.
All right. So this slow draft starts, I guess, Monday, right? For us?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
For the, I believe it's on CBS as well.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That'll be really fun.
So 10 a.m. Oh, so we'll be able to make our pick on air.
Hopefully. Fun. We will.
Well, if the team 1 and 2 don't pick quickly.
Yeah, we gotta make sure, hey, everyone, if you're drafting, turn on your, whatever it is, email notifications, text notifications, just pay attention. Because you want to get those slow drafts, especially that are starting right now. You want to make sure you're on a good pace because you got to get that done before week 1.
Yeah, so we can argue over the pick on air.
3? Who's gonna be there?
Probably
Saquon will be there. In my opinion.
Maybe Bajan, Lamb, Jefferson. So
yeah,
Gibbs,
Scattaboo.
Well,
we could take Scattaboo 103.
We should, right? This is for charity, right?
We totally should. We should just go with my guys, like our guys, and just like pick them out of place and see how we do. Last question here with just questions that we have going into the season. Caleb Johnson, Jaylen Warren. Same question with these running backs, looking at who's the better running back on the roster. Still Caleb Johnson for you. Is that the one that you're going to have the most exposure to?
I am starting to feel like it could be more Jaylen Warren here with his pass catching ability, the pass protection. That's been the issue that we've been hearing about Johnson, and we already know Aaron Rodgers is not going to deal with that. So, I think the gap maybe should be closer between these two. I know everyone gets excited for the rookie. We also see that Pittsburgh has never been one to give Warren that big workload, but I don't think even he needs to be a big workload. I think you could see him do a lot of the passing down work. So, I think Warren at his price is not bad.
Yeah, I was excited for Jaylen Warren, and then once it was Najee leaving, but of course you go in and draft Caleb Johnson. That does change things. Warren had a 12% explosive rush rate last year. He battled injuries. He had 45% of the snaps in the healthy games in 2024. So I think, like you said, at his price, I think he can make a push for an upside RB2 if he is able to lead this team. And that is again a big if with what this team looks like, but sometimes we do, and I am someone that does it every year where I have to just make sure to take a step back with getting enamored by rookies and the potential that they have because we just haven't seen them out there. There's a chance that they take over backfields, jump up depth charts for wide receivers, the tight ends get more involved, but you always have to be a little bit careful when you're doing that. So I'm with you on Warren. He's good. Like I said, RB2 upside if everything breaks right.
Yeah, feels like no one really talks about him either.
We're talking about him.
Well, yeah, now.
Look at us. We've talked about him, but it is true. It is a backfield where it's just kind of, it's easy, I think, for people to pass up and say, well, I just don't want either of these two. But Jaylen Warren, like you said, at his price and where he's going in drafts, again, depending on what platform you're on. But Caleb Johnson's the more expensive pick, 96 on ESPN, 77 on Sleeper, 68 on Yahoo. No. For Jaylen Warren, pick 94, 112, 104, cheaper option too. So that's always what we like to look for as well. We're going to continue on, Adam. We've got the Mike's Hard Reach of the Week, guys that we've been reaching for this week in drafts. Obviously, Adam's going to say it wasn't Cam Scattaboo. We will continue on, though, and go through the Mike's Hard Reach of the Week here coming up next. All right, here's the thing. I know you are trying to take your fantasy football game to the next level because you're listening to us right now, and we love that. You're drafting the top players, you're trying to make the right waiver wire moves, you're trying to make those blockbuster trades with your league mates. But what about those next generation of athletes? If you or someone you know has a high school athlete and you're looking to take their game to the next level, Premier National Sports is the team to help you through that entire process. Because just like you rely on us and Fantasy Life for the edge in your league, high school athletes and their families can trust Premier National Sports as a recruiting and NIL resource, which we know right now is so important. They provide personalized recruiting strategies and NIL education to help rising high school stars shine. So don't let talent go undiscovered, just like we don't let it pass us up in our drafts for Fantasy Life. Check them out and get in touch with their team today at premiernationalsports.com. That's premiernationalsports.com. Help them go pro so you can draft them in a few years. Time for that Mike's Hard Reach of the Week, the guys that we cannot go without in our drafts this week that we've been reaching for a little bit, Adam, because like we always like to say, go hard or go home. And that's what we like to do in our drafts. We always want to try and find that talent, be a little bit bold, just like Mike's Hard Lemonade. So make sure we don't play it safe. This is brought to you by Mike's Hard Lemonade. Anyone you've particularly been reaching for in drafts? I will say we've talked about him, and I think people know our stance on him. But just in case, we've got some coming in here. Jordan Mason is still too cheap for me. I looked at his ADP just to see how much he's moved over the past couple of weeks, and it is not enough for me, Adam. It's pick 142 on ESPN is way too late. You've got pick 110 on CBS, a lot sharper on Underdog, pick 85, sleepers going at 107. But if you're in an ESPN draft, make sure you scroll, because Jordan Mason is still the guy that I reach for every single week, because I just think I love Aaron Jones, and I took a lot of Aaron Jones last season, and he did so well, but there was not a lot of production behind him. You bring in Jordan Mason for one reason, and that is to be a really nice 1-2 punch with Aaron Jones, and to lighten the workload for Jones too. He's going to be 32 in December. So Jordan Mason, I think, just not only fits this offense well. Kevin O'Connell said a lot of great things about him, but he just is going to be able to come in and have a standalone value. Like when we talk about these running backs and we say, all right, it's going to take an injury for him to see significant time. It's not going to be that for Jordan Mason.
Yeah, Jones is coming off the biggest workload of his career, and he really did tail off towards the end of the season. They went out, they traded for Jordan Mason, gave him $7 million guaranteed, and we've already heard O'Connell say it's 1A, 1B. So Mason is going to play a big role in this offense, and is definitely one of those backs that you can get, anywhere from rounds 8 to 10, and especially if you do a hero RB or you're in that area where you're looking to pile up the running backs, Mason is in that conversation where you put him on the roster. And, also if something happens to Aaron Jones and he misses time, which he did 2 years ago for Green Bay, he missed 6 games, puts Mason in a really good spot. And Mason had looked really good every time he's gotten the opportunity with San Francisco, and last year was the first significant opportunity he got with McCaffrey out. He has 236 carries in his career. He's averaging 5.3 yards per carry. So yes, I know that was San Francisco's offense. It's great for running backs, but I also think Minnesota upgraded their offensive line as well. They look to be a good offense, especially if J.J. McCarthy pans out as we expect. Puts Mason in a good spot.
Braylon Allen, because we're talking about going hard, going home. It's Mike's Hard Reach of the Week, so we want to be a little bit bold. Do you think it's bold, or do you think people need to get on board with drafting Braylon Allen at this point? Because again, we talk about breadcrumbs throughout the preseason and training camp. We've heard quotes over the last couple of months that this backfield for the New York Jets might be a rotation, might not be the Breece Hall show. So right now in drafts, Braylon Allen, do you think he's more of a handcuff like we've seen him before, or do you think he could have standalone value and just maybe more of a role this season?
It's possible. I would say going into the year, I wouldn't count on that. And you don't have to. He is going in the double-digit rounds. Yeah. He still hasn't moved up. I thought there would be a little bit more buzz on him with all the positive reports out of training camp and seeing how the Jets want to run the football a lot. And now people are starting to drop Breece Hall because of what they saw in that first preseason game where it was split. So I thought you would see Allen move up a little bit more, but definitely he's on the radar to draft for sure. And something happens to Breece Hall, if they somehow trade him, then Allen's in a good spot because this team is going to run the football a lot.
Yeah, I've seen some of the trade rumors because we've seen it this week for not for right now, but the trade deadline in the NFL. I haven't even looked up when that is, but that Breece Hall could be on the trade block. Same with, we talked about it with Tyreek Hill. That'd be interesting because you're right. If that were to happen, then that's hard to think of right now when you're drafting, but that's another opportunity for Braylon Allen to step up.
Yeah, Hall's in the final year of his rookie contract.
Did you see his quotes after the Kyren Williams signing?
That where those guys have done more.
Yeah, I haven't done what they've done. I thought those were good, but
it's interesting, and I don't know if that's good for the negotiations. But hey, he was being honest.
I mean, they could just look at the stats, right? And say, we kind of know it's not a secret.
And he could say, well, look at the team I'm playing on.
He said that the quote was Breece Hall about the James Cook, Kyren Williams signings were that, quote, they've done much more in the league than I have. They've been in better situations, and they are both very good players. That's not wrong.
Also been in way better offenses, too, with better coaching.
You said it. He couldn't say it, but we'll see. We'll see what happens this season. Because like you said, we know what this team's going to be, and it's going to be run heavy for the Jets. And so hopefully maybe Braylon Allen steps up, but Breece Hall, so is he a fade for you right now, or is it? There's such a split. It's that Breece Hall is going too early in drafts right now. There's no way he's going to be able to, go outperform his ADP. And then there's others believing that he's a breakout candidate because of how run heavy this offense could be. So let me give you pick 32 on Sleeper, pick 38 on Underdog, and he's pretty much in line across ESPN, Yahoo, CBS as well.
Yeah, I haven't been taking him much at this point. And probably won't be. I mean, that is a range too where I feel like there are some pretty good receivers going off the board too that I feel more confident in. I could see it. That's the problem. Like Hall's again one of those polarizing players where I could see it going either way. Like I see, this works out. He's heavily involved. They feature him, and then I could see, well, they go with a committee and it's just not going to translate. So he's kind of one of those players where I'm kind of torn on, go back and forth, but for the most part, I have passed on him.
We'll see what's able to happen there. But you're right. He goes, depending on where you're drafting, he goes anywhere around, Mike Evans, George Kittle. I see Devontae Adams there, Tedero McMillan as well. So there's other good guys. I will say I have drafted him, but so I can't say that I'm out. I'm definitely still in on a potential good Breece Hall season. We're going to continue on here, Adam, but that was the Mike's Hard Reach of the week because we want to be bold and we want to take risks, just like Mike's Hard Lemonade. We're going to go through what we're watching this weekend. We've got more preseason games starting here tonight. We're going to go through that coming up next. It is Friday. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us here. You've made it. The weekend's almost here. I'm not going to say leave work because we should work. We have to continue working, Adam. What?
Wow. What happened?
I don't know. It's just a great day. If you want to leave, go ahead. Go to lunch. Don't come back.
Oh, okay. Usually by this time you're like, get out. Now today you're like, guys,
if you
don't
want to
leave.
work, I mean, we don't have games till a little bit later. Nah, just kidding. Just leave. Go get lunch. I'll pick up lunch for everyone, and then you don't come back. Hey, by the way, I found a new way that I think I'm gonna do draft order for one of my leagues this year. You want to hear it?
Okay. I'm assuming this has something to do with the Blue Jays.
No. Why would it have anything to do with that?
Okay. What is it then?
So ESPN dropped a sports misery index. Did you see this?
No.
Okay, so you can Google ESPN misery rating, and you put your sports teams in there and how long that you've been a fan, and they tell you how miserable or happy you are. And so I'm going to do it by misery rating. Whoever has the worst score just automatically gets the best pick. And yes, I'm doing this for me because when I put the Seattle Mariners in there, it gives me a score of woeful. Things are looking pretty grim. I'd offer to buy you a cold beverage, but I'm just a robot on your computer. It's pretty bad. So that's how I'm going to do it for one.
Well, I guess that means I have to be up there then. Funny you asked that. I put your teams in. So I put Cowboys, Mets. I added Knicks, Rangers. Are you good with that or no? Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, your misery rating is awful. You have an 85. You are also woeful. Things are looking pretty grim. That's how I'm going to do it. And then people that are the saddest get the better picks.
So wait, I was 85. What were you?
I was 80.
Okay. Yeah.
But I have less, I'm really a true fan, obviously, of the Seattle Seahawks and the Mariners. Couldn't put the Sonics in there. I watched the Kraken, but I don't want to, add them.
Yeah.
Like my Seattle Storm.
Boy, I mean, you put Mets and Jets in there. Forget it.
I put
That's no. I'm saying if you did, there's a lot of Mets Jets fans. That is off the charts. Like Mets Jets Knicks. Forget it.
Do you think that would be the worst rating? What are the worst teams that you could get? Because the worst score is 100. So 85 is pretty bad. 80 for me is pretty bad. What do you think the worst combination could be?
Well, it's got to be teams that haven't won anything. See, so like Jets. At least the Mets did win in 86. I mean, the Jets were 1969, so that was a long time ago.
The Jets alone, if you just add the Jets to this thing, it is a misery rating of 99. I'm so sorry, Jets fans.
Yeah, so the Jets are going to take you over to the top.
Who else is really bad? Like just across any sports team. The Mariners have to be one of the worst for baseball.
I mean, they've had some good years, but if you're talking titles.
The only team that's never gone to a World Series. Trailblazers? That's a good one. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there, that if you need a new way to see your draft order, or if you just want to see how miserable or happy you are. I mean, imagine the teams that you can put in there that always win. It's like if you were a Chiefs fan, right, you're going to be happy as ever. Some other teams, yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, Dodgers, you're happy as ever. Yeah. Thing is, with baseball, you don't see a lot of repeat champions anymore. I think the last time was actually the Yankees in 99, 2000.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Dodgers are going
to in all sports though. It's it's hard to repeat nowadays.
We've had some really. I mean, it's been fun to watch. I know some people don't like the super teams and the dynasties, but when we look back on some of these years that we've had with how good like the Tom Brady teams were and how good the Chiefs teams, like I know some people don't like those, but when we look back, it's historic what they've been able to do for some of them.
Yeah, if you're a fan of those teams, you love them. If you aren't, then you
don't like watching good teams though.
I mean, do I like watching them? Yeah, but at the same time, I want to see my team win, but that's never going to happen.
All right. Well, you were kind of optimistic today about them.
About who?
Optimistic. You
Dallas?
About the Cowboys. Yes.
No,
you said
you just said that week 18 would be nothing for them.
And you said they could be going to the playoffs.
They could be in contention for a playoff spot then. I'm saying could. Didn't say will.
I'm putting the over-under at week 5, or you don't say that anymore.
Probably. I'll be like, yeah, it's over.
Everyone, have a safe weekend. We appreciate you guys so much hanging out with us. Go to fantasylife.com. Use that code SXM20 for 20% off. We'll see you same time here on Monday.